Hello and welcome back to the Greek Pyramid. Today I'm not entirely sure what this video is, but we are going to take a look at impossible or difficult to answer ride and verse related questions and see if I can take a stab at answering them, I suppose. So let's just get straight into it. First up, did the Roman demigods know about the Big Three Pact? So, obviously, we know about the Big Three Pact from the Greek side, in which Zeus, Poseidon and Hades agreed to not have children, in a way in which two of them decided to have children. But the pact was there for them not to have children. But as far as we're aware, the Romans didn't know about the Big Three Pact amongst the gods, and let's say for the sake of this question that they didn't know. So what did they think happened with the children of these gods? Did they believe they had offended Jupiter in some way, meaning he didn't send any more children to the camp? I mean, they didn't really care about Neptune or Pluto, so they wouldn't have been too bothered by neither of their children rocking up for centuries. Is this potentially part of the reason they were so desperate to please, and why Michael Varus led the quest to Alaska in their attempt to appease Jupiter? Is this also why, when Jason came along, that there was so much pressure and responsibility put on him, as they were overjoyed at finally seeing another child of Jupiter, almost thinking they were redeemed within Jupiter's eyes after the last 70 years or so? I mean, they could have also known about the pact as well, but it's never referred to, so we'll leave it at that. What happens if the weak spot is put on the inside of your body? This one is relating to when Percy takes a dip in the river Styx, and in doing so gains the curse of Achilles, leaving him with impenetrable skin, but crucially a weak spot on his body. When he is in the Styx, it's referred to as a tether to the mortal world sort of thing, and physically Percy feels it pulling him and keeping him and being pulled by the current. So, back to the original question, I saw some people asking within the Percy Jackson fandom about where they would put their weak spot, and some people were saying they would put it inside their body, as obviously that leaves you with completely impenetrable skin. But, without being too gruesome, I believe that this would probably cause that part of your body to be ripped out of you and leading to death, as if that is pulling you to remain, you haven't got impenetrable skin yet, so I reckon that would just completely make a giant liver-shaped hole or whatever it is in you. What is Octavian's last name? Bit of a different one here. I saw someone on Reddit say this option is my favourite, so in my head it is now basically canon, and that name is Octavian Otto Octavius. To get back a bit more on to actual questions with some form of meaning to them, what is the answer to Mr. Brunner's question at the beginning of The Lightning Thief? So the question in question is, why did the Greek myths matter in real life? Percy is unsure at the time when originally asked this question about 8 pages into The Lightning Thief. I like to think of this as a question of morals, as each of the myths have some form of message about life, and Mr. Brunner is just telling him to live his life by a certain set of morals, and to learn from these myths. Of course, on the other hand, it could be a more literal message, telling him, learn about the gods and myths, because in the months and years to come, you're going to be facing quite a few of them someday, and it could definitely help you out. In fact, on some occasions, knowing those myths is quite possibly going to save your life. Partially due to the fact that many of the monsters haven't really changed their behaviours throughout time. So if you can figure out how they were previously defeated in the myths, then gives you a bit of an easier out in the end. Of course, there is a third interpretation as well, due to a quote slightly further on in the book, with the quote in question saying, "If you were a god, how would you like being called a myth? An old story to explain lightning. What if I told you, Perseus Jackson, that someday people would call you a myth, just created to explain how little boys can get over losing their mothers?" I'm intrigued to know what way you think this could be. What is the interpretation of his question in The Lightning Thief? Is it a very literal one? Is it more of a moral one? Or potentially something other? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm intrigued to hear any answers. Final question today is, have other gods been cast down other than Apollo? Apollo does mention how in ancient times that he was cast down to Earth twice for his various misdemeanours. Poseidon was also cast down to earth, and this is established within Greek mythology. I am more interested if there are any times in between ancient Greece and present day that any of the gods were made mortal, and what would be the reason for that occurring. The gods must have got up some pretty dodgy things that Zeus didn't agree with, but it depends what is big enough to get them sent down to earth. I mean, we literally see Zeus and Poseidon on the edge of war in The Lightning Thief. It seems it would be a pretty big, easy win for Zeus if he just made Poseidon mortalish. In fact, how would Zeus lose any argument in that way unless all of the other gods revolted, which I suppose is possible, but then can't he just make the rest of them mortal? Although I guess that is just an overthrowing waiting to happen. It's difficult to know where Zeus's line is with this, as Apollo's most recent one was potentially leading to the end of the world. I'm not saying he was purely at fault for it, but in the past, Apollo was sent down because he killed the Cyclops who had created Zeus's weapon, upsetting Zeus, and so he was sent down to Earth as a mortal to pay his dues in some sense. And obviously we don't know a huge amount in the period in between, except from the gods moving to the biggest superpower of the time. So I like to think there are some other gods that maybe were sent down throughout history to maybe learn a lesson at different points. I mean, Zeus probably deserves to be sent down as well for his various things he's done throughout history. I don't know, I can just see Ares being sent down or Poseidon being sent down again, maybe even a Hades being made mortal. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you have any suggestions to how these questions could be answered, particularly to the last two questions, please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.